Good morning, juniors, and welcome to your first I&M video in science. Our objective for today is I can explain the 8 characteristics of living things and identify the elements of life. Right now, I need you to copy down your focus question in green. It's going to go on the right side of your science notebook after that big margin. What makes something alive? And we're going to do a quick engage before we get started. So, Miss Brady and I know a scientist who works at the sewage treatment plant over in Jefferson Parish. And he told us that there's this infestation of these things called sewer lice. They're right here. This is sewer lice collected from the Jefferson Parish Sewer Treatment Facility. So we're going to investigate if sewer lice are alive or if they actually are not alive, if there's something else. So I need you to right now, on the left side of your notebook, draw this T-chart over here. Just like I have, living on the left side, non-living on the right side. This T-chart is going on the left side of your science notebook on the even numbered page. Once you've got your T-chart set, pause the video, put your screen at half mast, and give me a silent thumbs up. All right. So today, like I just explained, we are not going to use Cornell notes. We're actually going to staple in the graphic organizer that you're going to be taking your notes on. It's going to save us time. Instead of writing out a bunch of different definitions, we're just going to use this graphic organizer. So you need to be listening carefully for the box number. Each box is numbered, as you can see on your graphic organizer, where you should write each definition. What you need to write down will be in green. So, like we talked about in our first week, biology is life. So, in order to study life, we need to decide what things are living, what things have life, and what things are non-living. So, in order to be alive, scientists have determined that there are 8 characteristics that every single living organism on this whole planet has. Bacteria have them, we have them, dogs have them, cats have them, fish, oak trees, flowering plants. All living organisms have these 8 characteristics of life. So, in box number 1, you're going to write made up of cells. All living things are made up of cells. Some organisms, like bacteria, are just one cell. We're going to talk more about that later. Other organisms, like us, have trillions of cells. Trillions and trillions of cells, and we're always making new cells. Cells are dying, we're making new cells. But all living things are made up of cells. Cells are the smallest unit of life. In box number 2, you need to write reproduce, sexually or asexually. So reproduce just means make babies. All living organisms have the ability to make babies. Bacteria, they don't reproduce sexually. It doesn't take 2 bacteria to make more bacteria. They reproduce asexually. We're going to talk more about that in 2 weeks. For now, you just need to know that all living organisms reproduce. They can make more of themselves. In box number 3, please write, contain genetic material. All living things have genetic material called DNA. Every single cell contains DNA. DNA is the code of life. In order to be alive, an organism must have DNA. In box number 4, please write grow and develop. All organisms must be able to grow and develop. It's easy when you think about humans. We start out as 8-pound babies, and then we grow into adults. We visibly grow and develop throughout our life. But if you think about a plant starts out as a seed, and then it grows roots, and it sprouts out of the seed covering, and it grows taller and taller and taller, and then it can even turn into a tree that's as tall as a building. So plants grow and develop as well. In order to be alive, something must grow and develop throughout its lifetime. In box number 5, please write obtain and use energy. That word obtain just means take in. Humans obtain their energy by eating food. Bacteria and other smaller organisms obtain their energy by molecules entering their cells. All living organisms must take in and use energy. In box number 6, please write respond to their environment. Now, what do I mean by respond to their environment? I mean, for humans, if someone claps really loudly in front of your face, you're going to blink and probably back your face up. That's an instinct. That's us responding to a change in our environment. All living organisms respond to their environment, but it can look different for different organisms. For instance, a plant will grow towards the direction where there's the most sunlight. So plants respond to their environment by tilting towards the area with the most sunlight. That's how they respond to their environment. In box 7, please write maintain a stable internal environment. By stable, I mean constant, stays the same. The fancy science word for a stable internal environment is homeostasis. Now, this is a little bit of a difficult concept to understand, but think about our bodies. Our normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Is it always 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit outside in the air that we're walking around in and breathing in? No, absolutely not. Sometimes it is down here. It's really hot, but it's definitely not always that temperature outside. The inside of our bodies are able to maintain homeostasis to keep this constant internal environment. We are living organisms. We can do this. All living organisms have this capability. And in our last box, please write change and evolve over time. Change and evolve over time. So now I don't mean growing like humans grow from a baby to an adult. I mean evolve. I mean how we developed humans, all life developed from microscopic, teeny tiny organisms to what we are now. Over hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of years, all living organisms have changed and evolved over time. So over time doesn't just mean my lifetime, it means the whole history of the earth. If you need to, make sure you're going back in the video so you have all 8 boxes filled out with the 8 characteristics of life. So not only do living things share certain characteristics, those 8 characteristics that we just talked about, living things also have certain elements in common. You talked about elements last year in 6th grade with atomic number and looking at the different types of particles, but we also talk about it in biology because in our study of living things, we know that all living things contain common elements. So all living things, humans, plants, fish, bacteria, anything like that, are made mostly of just 6 elements. So we have a funny acronym that we like to use to remember these 6 elements, and we'll say it all the time. So on the bottom of your graphic organizer, you have down the page CHNOPS. So I need you right now to fill in what CHNOPS means. It stands for carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These are the 6 most common elements in living organisms. Make sure you're filling in all 6 elements, their full names, at the bottom of your graphic organizer. Now, the most important element of life is carbon. Living organisms are mostly made up of carbon. Carbon is the most prevalent element in living organisms. Carbon is really important. We're going to talk about it more when we talk about photosynthesis next week. Our last point for today, at the bottom of your graphic organizer, right under where you just wrote CHNOPS, you should see prokaryote and eukaryote. So like I said in the beginning of the video, all things are made of cells. That's one of our 8 characteristics of life. So there are 2 fundamental types of cells. The first type of cell is a prokaryote, right here, this P word, prokaryote. And a prokaryote is a single-celled organism without a nucleus. Don't worry if you don't know what a nucleus is. We're going to learn more about it later. This is an example of a prokaryote right here, and these are prokaryotes under microscopes. So a prokaryote is a single-celled organism without a nucleus. A eukaryote is a multi means more than one, a multi-celled organism with a nucleus that contains a nucleus. An example of a eukaryote are these right here. This is the cells of an oak tree leaf under a microscope, and these are human skin cells. You can see these dark areas in each of these cells. That's the cell's nucleus. That means they're eukaryotes. They have a nucleus, they're eukaryotes. If they don't have a nucleus, like here, they are prokaryotes. Here's one more picture to make this really clear. Here's a eukaryotic cell. There's its nucleus, its dark nucleus right in the middle. And it looks a lot more complex. And here's a prokaryote. No nucleus. This is just the DNA. All this is the DNA, not contained in a nucleus like right here. This is just the DNA of the cell. Because remember we said all living things need to have DNA. Well, this bacteria cell is alive. It has DNA, but it's a prokaryote. So it doesn't have a nucleus. Awesome job. Make sure you're going back to the video so you have your completed graphic organizer set to go for when we start practice.